Now, Donald Trump says he's sending his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, to Moscow for talks with Vladimir Putin on the latest peace plan to end the war between Ukraine and Russia. Mr. Trump says a deal may be close, but President Zelensky has warned there are still sensitive issues that need to be sorted out. With more from Kiev, here's James Waterhouse.
In Ukraine's capital, the power of Russia's invasion is felt most at night. It is a constant threat, unaffected by the undulating peace efforts, and no less petrifying for those who survive. At least 7 people were killed in Kyiv after a wave of Russian drones and missiles. Children were among those rescued at this apartment block. With dawn comes the scars of the attack. Ukraine, like the US, wants peace, but it needs an agreement that won't fall apart, and a reassurance that its Western friends will have its back for the long term. Valeri and Yulia are not optimistic.
To speak about peace is all very good, but weapons are the only instrument that can help Ukraine.
So what are you willing to give up for peace?
The Russians should leave Ukraine. This is the only compromise possible. We understand it's difficult, but we will not give up our country.
Any lasting peace deal in this country will have to change this dynamic. A Russia that wants to keep attacking and a Ukraine that wants to keep defending. At the moment, Kiev is being forced to contemplate some extremely difficult compromises, and it's being squeezed by all sides. Donald Trump nevertheless sounds optimistic. In an online post, he said he looked forward to hopefully meeting President Zelensky and President Putin soon, but only when the deal to end this war is final or in its final stages.
Це наш спільний інтерес.
In his nightly address, President Zelensky said security was in America's and Ukraine's common interest. He said the Russians respect American power more than any other. But what of Ukraine's European allies? Well, they've been squeezed out of this process.
We've always expressed our support.
Today, the so-called coalition of the willing was chaired by the French President and British Prime Minister as they reaffirmed their commitment to Kiev.
And it's only if Russia believes we're serious to responding to any violation that this will underpin a lasting peace.
Even if Ukraine and the US can agree a shared peace plan, for this war to end, Russia will have to agree as well. James Waterhouse, BBC News, Kyiv.
Well, Russia's foreign minister says the Kremlin still hasn't seen the amended framework for a possible peace deal, which significantly deviates from Moscow's original demands. Here's Steve Rosenberg.
After nearly 4 years of war, what next? Which path will Russia take now? Is it ready for peace, or will it fight on? There is a peace plan, Donald Trump's. What are Russians being told about that? Switch on state TV and you'll hear that Russia has much to gain from America's peace proposal. They'll also tell you that European leaders are trying to torpedo it. But speak to Russian officials and you'll find they're reluctant to go into detail about peace talks. Well, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was. I asked him to comment on reports of surprise talks on Ukraine today in Abu Dhabi between Russian and American officials. He wouldn't. We have channels of communication, Mr. Lavrov says, but we prefer diplomacy to aimless chat that tries to undermine any promising and positive initiatives. So you're not confirming Abu Dhabi? I've answered you. On peace talks and peace plans, there is precious little information coming out of Moscow. What there are plenty of are unsubtle hints that if Ukraine doesn't do a deal, Russia will continue the war. But Russia is under pressure too. In the last 4 years, it's suffered huge casualties on the battlefield, and its economic problems are growing. Speak to people on the streets of Moscow, and you'll discover that many Russians hope the war will end soon. The talk of peace gives us hope, Juliana says. We've wanted peace for a long time. People are being killed on both sides. But it was Russia that invaded Ukraine. And what happens next isn't clear. Talk of peace doesn't automatically translate into the end of a war. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.
Let's get the view from Washington. Sarah Smith is there for us now. Mr. Trump, Sarah, is optimistic again about the prospects for peace, but we've been here before.
Yeah, the optimistic rhetoric that we are hearing from the White House today is quite deliberate, and it doesn't necessarily reflect huge progress that's been made in these talks. You've got Donald Trump talking about tremendous progress that's been made and being very close to a deal. Well, when he sounds like that, it is part of a plan to keep the pressure on these talks on both sides. If you create a sense of almost unstoppable momentum towards a deal, Donald Trump believes it makes it harder for either Ukraine or Russia to walk away. So that's what he's trying to achieve there. He doesn't want to get involved in the detail of this. He's going to leave that to his negotiators, but he does want to keep the pressure on to try and get some kind of agreement as soon as possible.